Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Truth Tellers Conference. This is the last and final day of the conference, and in this session, as much as I don't want us to be on the last day, I'm excited about this session. We're going to be talking with my friend Susan McCord about the core values that should drive us in our homeschooling.
Shalom,
I
everybody,
did it
and
again. I
welcome to
keep
the
playing that
2024
thing. There. Must be the last day. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the core values that drive homeschooling and the importance of mentoring the next generation of homeschooling parents. Susan is the perfect person for this. My name is Anna Elliott. I'm the creator and founder of homeschoolingtorah.com, and I'm here today with Susan McCord. She is a homeschool mom of over 20 years, and I met her a few years back at the Torah Sisters Retreat, which is right here in Michigan, and I highly recommend going to that, by the way. And we became friends, and I feel like she's a kindred spirit in homeschooling philosophy and methods. And when we started talking about those things, I thought, ooh, I like how she thinks. Her heart and expertise are in mentoring other homeschooling moms, and she's so experienced and excellent at doing it. So I'm so excited for you all to meet her. But before we get started, I want to introduce a couple of our sponsors who I'm also excited about telling you about. Some of these might be new to you. The first one is Deborah Publishing, and they offer a variety of services to help authors share the words that Yah has placed on their hearts, which I think is really important in our movement right now. Their mission is to provide a trustworthy and professional publishing experience based on biblical principles. They want to help others succeed in their publishing journey, and I have been able to watch firsthand as they work with new authors and see how that process goes. So I can heartily recommend their services. And by the way, go check out their books. They're really awesome. So that's Deborah Publishing. You can find them online at deborahpublishing.com. And in just a few moments, I'll post a link to that in the chat. And our other sponsor for this one is the daughter of our speaker today. Not Susan McCord, but Caitlin McCord, who is the owner of Growing in Yeshua Designs, and she is such a sweetheart. You will find at her shop unique, encouraging, and simple and lovely hand-lettered designs. She makes her things herself. She doesn't go out and find some meme and share it. She paints them herself, guys. She's so talented. And she loves to encourage others in the Lord. I love her email list, so get on her email list. I think it is one of the most encouraging email lists out there. But she also has great cards and magnets and stickers, and she has a brand new tote bag, which I think is really adorable. Anyway, she offers biblical feast-themed items and all kinds of other things to encourage us. So thank you. You can find her on Etsy. So go to etsy.com, and it's all one word, Growing in Yeshua. So etsy.com, Growing in Yeshua is what you're going to search for, but I will put a link to that in the chat in just a moment. So those are our sponsors for today. We're super excited for them, and I'm also excited for Susan. So without going any longer listening to Anne, let me get us talking with Susan. So I'm going to pull that up real quick, and here we go. So, hi, Susan. I am so glad you are here today. I am very thankful that the Father has allowed us to become friends over the past few years. And in our friendship, I have found a kindred spirit and someone who I know you care about the same values that I care about in homeschooling. And I just would love it, Susan. Would you introduce yourself? Would you tell everyone about your family? And how did you get started homeschooling? And how long have you been homeschooling? And all those kind of juicy nuggets for people.
Okay. So I'm Susan. I'm married to my husband, Chris, and we've been married for 30 years now. And so we have 3 children, one adult daughter, Madeline, who is married, and she has 2 little boys, one who is around 2.5, the other one's almost 6 months. And then I have my middle child daughter, Caitlin. She's 23, and she is pursuing her bachelor's degree through online college. And then my son, Zach, is 19, and he's working and still trying to kind of figure out what direction life will take him right now. And so I started homeschooling because, well, it was in my heart to do that. But my husband wasn't really sure because it was really kind of a thing that was really foreign to both of us. But our oldest daughter was diagnosed with a life-threatening heart condition at the age of 22 months. And the doctor said, well, the next 6 months will tell us which direction she's headed. And so we just knew that it was more important to keep her healthy, um, out of daycare and whatnot. And so then I started to stay home. And then the next best course of action was to find things to keep her occupied. She has a very busy mind, and so it was, homeschooling was that thing. And so even though that's the reason I started homeschooling, I think most people will find if they continue to homeschool and as they continue to homeschool that those reasons change. So we ended up homeschooling in the state of Virginia, which is the only state in the union that has the opportunity to use what's called a religious exemption to homeschool. So we used that religious exemption until we moved out of state to homeschool. So that's where I am. That's where I've been.
Yes,
Briefly.
no kidding. Well, so you've been homeschooling almost the exact amount of time as I. We've been on a really similar journey. And so how did you, when you were getting started back then, we didn't have the resources we have now with I think I'd be overwhelmed if I were starting to homeschool right now, but it was a little overwhelming back then too because it wasn't as popular as it is now. And I know I felt alone. How did you start to choose curriculum? What kinds of things guided you toward those choices?
There weren't a lot of options, honestly. So the internet was still quite new, which is kind of funny to say. But that's really how I found resources and maybe even the library. There were a few books on curriculum and um, guides on curriculum and things like that that have gone back many years that they continue to publish today. So I would look at those things. But I mean, honestly, when it came down to it, there wasn't that much. And so, since the options were few, the decision fatigue was low. And
Mhm.
I just chose something that I felt aligned with our faith and values the most, but also was strong enough to, start my children in the right direction with their education. So, and I did use like things for preschool and kindergarten and first grade because I am not an education major or anything, so I didn't really know where to start. But those things gave me ideas and helped me, you know, just gave me like a plumb line to start with on how to keep them active, keep their brains active, and start them learning.
What did your husband think of all of this?
Oh, I think he was totally on board. Not maybe, well, I wouldn't say totally, maybe 60% on
Sure.
board initially. But once he started to see how the children were thriving, and as the years progressed, he, I think totally came on board. So yeah, it didn't take long. Um, I would say a few years, but still, I mean, in this grand scheme of things, that's three children that I've homeschooled. So it's been a long time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's crazy to think about the fact that my husband wasn't exactly on board at the beginning either. And just to think about how the father has changed all of us. I mean, all of us.
Mhm.
We we didn't know what we were doing, and yet he was guiding and directing. What were some of the core values, the things that you wanted to pass on to your children over the years? Did you think about like that, or were you just concentrating? I'm trying to think back how I was thinking, but were there some main things that you're like, this we have to talk about, this we have to teach? I don't know.
Well, just a basic knowledge of the Bible. And um, I appreciate that certain curricula do cover like the Old Testament in a certain amount of time or the New Testament in a certain amount of time or things like that. And so that's kind of what guided my thoughts towards curriculum. But when it came down to it, I really wanted them to, by high school, be able to start learning what it means to stand in their faith independently. And so with that goal in mind, I think it just made me think, backtrack and think, how would that happen? And so it wasn't about the curriculum. It wasn't about the activities that we did. It was the conversations we had in the van and around the breakfast table that really um, cemented those values. So, and I mean, basically, it's just basic biblical values, your character and how people know you by who you are and what you do. So, yeah, I can't really think of, um, yeah, but just basic biblical principles. So, I don't know how to word that any better.
No, you worded it amazingly. That's exactly right. Um, so did you have other moms that you could look to as an example or friends that helped you on that path?
Yeah, so back in the day, Yahoo groups were a thing. So,
Yes.
and I just searched for homeschooling, ended up finding some ladies who lived near me, and they were starting to form like a preschool homeschool group with just activities and just an opportunity for the kids to get together and play and maybe like do a little show and tell or some kind of little activity that they did together, but it was just really relaxed. So yeah, I started to meet other moms, and I have one mom that I still stay in touch with now, off and on. But we've known each other for since our children were little 2 and 4 years old and things like that, and now they're grown and adults. So and then that just grew. So those groups just grew, and thankfully, where I lived in the Richmond area of Virginia, there was a thriving group with a fantastic leader who kept a group going for many, many years. And even though my daughter might have different health needs, or just when you have multiple children, it's harder to kind of make things happen. They'll get sick and domino style, so you might miss out on things for a few weeks at a time. But that one group was actually our mainstay. The one that was it was through a Baptist church, but it wasn't. The church didn't guide or lead it really. They just used that as a location for a lot of their meetings and activities. But that one group is the one where my children made the most friends, where I found out information about this co-op and that class and this person's house where this lady, teaches Spanish, and just all the different things. So it was like a networking opportunity for homeschoolers, honestly. Yeah.
No, you weren't alone. It gave you someone to just talk to week after week, and you don't even realize you're doing that, do you? You're just like, "Hi, we're here. Drop the kids off. Let's go do the activity. And by the way, how's your week going? And is there anything we can pray for you about?" And just the things that normal everyday life, but over the years, those build and become huge mentoring opportunities. I'm
Mhm.
thinking back on our own walk and how those moms that were older, I don't think they meant to be influencing us, but they were. You'd be watching your own children playing, or maybe two of them would have a little fight, and you'd be like, well, I wonder how they would handle that at their house, and it would help so much. Okay. So you've mentioned a couple times that you went through some difficult seasons
Mhm.
and times when homeschooling probably, I'm guessing, didn't happen like you envisioned it. How did you handle? Can you tell us a little bit? Because I have not met a mom yet who's had this perfect 180-day school year every year for 12
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
I don't know any either. So yeah, I mean, quite honestly, it was great because I am a person who I appreciate a plan because I just want to think once. So, for an example, I don't like to think every single night or every single day, what am I having for supper tonight? I want to know that meal because that's the meal that our family all eats together every day, almost every day. So, I plan that ahead. So, when it came to homeschooling, I knew my brain was going to want to plan. And so I leaned into a curriculum that had a daily and weekly plan. And so when interruptions happened, if my children were at the age, which was for most of mine around seventh grade, when they started to want to be more independent, I could print off that schedule. They could go and do it and check it off, and then I check behind them. And that lasted up until about through ninth grade. By 10th grade, they were fairly independent and doing it on their own with only weekly or every 2 week check ins. But so that was a good thing with that type of curriculum. But also, if they were, younger than that, then I just, if it wasn't anything that important, I would say, okay, just do your basics, whether that was math or reading or whatever they could travel with. So there was one time when my oldest was 10 and she was in the hospital for 10 days. And so I think they stayed with their great grandmother during that time. And there's no expectation for somebody in their 70s to
Oh,
teach the children. And then so I just gave them some basic ideas of things to keep their minds occupied, but their minds are so occupied in a new place with the people that they don't see, all the time. They did see them fairly often, but yeah. So I would give them ideas of things to do. And then since that was on a weekly schedule, I just pick right back up when we got home. And then also, I will encourage people now, like with mentoring, how if they want to catch back up too, is that there's sometimes a lot of leeway in those weekly grids. And so you can sometimes like take a day and then do another half of another day of something,
mhm,
whether
mhm.
it's, oh, we're supposed to just read 2 chapters in this book today and 3 chapters tomorrow. So we'll do 3 or 4 chapters today. And then tomorrow we'll do the other half and then jump into the next day. And so that helps you feel like you're kind of getting caught up per se.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So those are the things that helped me. I just decided it was a plan there waiting for me and I didn't have to get back to it until I was ready. So yeah.
And your kids turned out, yeah, they didn't have these massive gaps in their education or anything, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody has gaps, but all the great thing about it is that everyone has um their the place where the Father has placed them as far as like their skills and giftings and abilities. And so I feel like if I have given them an opportunity for those giftings and abilities to thrive, then that's so much better than any gap they might have with anything. But
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So that was my next question. Do your children love to learn now that they are adults? I mean, I kind of know the answer, but tell us how how have you seen that love for learning, that love for pursuing their own giftings as the Father has given them? How does that work out? And do you feel like the Father takes Oh, I guess I'm maybe giving you a leading question. I shouldn't do that. But
fun.
I know in our family, like certain kids were sick more than others, and maybe we had a couple hospital stays as well. And now I've seen how those children, those experiences completely molded them into what they are today. And I know this is a leading question, but tell us how that happened for you too, because I know it did.
Yeah. So as for giftings and abilities and things like that, so one thing I think that's missing in today's world of parenting probably has infiltrated homeschooling as well is the busyness level. So we had a huge buffer of time through our days. There was no like we have to get this done by a certain time unless there was a certain appointment or a class outside the home or whatever, certain things like that. So, but letting your child get bored and then seeing what their interests are once they get bored was the thing that really worked for my children. So, my oldest, once she got bored, she decided that she wanted to learn to sew. And by the time she was 16, 2/3 of her closet was all garments that she had sewn for herself. So, and she had sometimes not necessarily drafted her own patterns, but somewhat like taken other patterns and used that as a way to draw her own pattern. So not pure drafting, but using other patterns to get an idea of how to draw something. And then my middle child, when she got bored, she realized she really likes to read and she really likes to write and she really likes to craft. And so that's turned into, you know, a hand lettered business that she has. And then she likes different crafts and things like that. So that brings her together with some of the young people in our fellowship. And she's, extended that to being able to have different fellowship opportunities that she's, planned for our fellowship for the young people by bringing them together through crafts and things like that. So, and then my youngest, when he got bored, he decided that he was really into sounds and how to change them and modify them and music. And so that's what he does. Like he currently is making beats for a Christian rapper who lives in Georgia. And there's some other folks that he's done stuff like that for as well, but he composes his own music as well. So, you know, that's the key to me, was for them to just kind of get bored and figure out, okay, this is what I really, really like to do. And once I understood their interest, then I was able to give them an opportunity to improve those skills and that interest. So, and I forgot the other portion of what you said at the end.
I did too, but it made me
Okay.
think of um, basically, so you did say, nowadays we see that families don't have that cushion of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you were homeschooling starting today, if you had a 2-year-old and you were starting the whole process all over, what are some things, if you could have the wisdom of being in your 50s and you could go back to also starting over, what would you do different, or what would you watch out for so that you could get the same result?
First of all, I would love that because I'm thinking of my grandson, and I think that would be so great.
It
But
would be.
anyway, I encourage my daughter in this way. Like, don't let um time be your thief. Like, use your time wisely, but also let them be little, like let them encourage them in the ways that they want to do things. So my grandson has recently discovered that his gross motor skills are his greatest treasure and thing to have fun with. So he wants to jump and he wants to throw and things like that. So I've given her ideas of, like, how to maybe like put the cushions down on the floor and make mountains for him to climb over or things like that. Take something that's kind of challenging to throw, maybe like cotton balls or pom poms, and give him a target to throw them into, or several different targets, like different pans or around the floor or something like that, where he has to stay, maybe put a piece of tape down on a line where he has to stay there in order to toss them into those pots. But yeah, so that's what I would do. And that's the best part of young childhood for me that I really, really appreciated. I like to help them, encourage them in their play and see where they were currently and how to challenge them through that. Because, you know, a little boy especially just has so much energy. And when you see the things that they're trying to do, that's their bodies trying to tell them, okay, I need more practice in this. So that's the kind of things that I would want to do with them. And then, you know, when we have a chance, when they're just sitting down eating lunch, or I have them captivated for whatever reason, maybe they're in their car seat in the car, maybe we'll talk about letters and we'll talk about numbers and we'll talk about shapes. And yeah, so for little kids, I just think it's great to just capitalize on where they currently are. And then when you have that other opportunity, stretch them just a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was with a family the other day. We were at a wedding and they had some small children, not super small, through little, like preschool all the way through middle age. Okay, and they have 5 kids, and it was just super fun to have some conversations with them, and bringing me back to when my children were that age, and I was like, oh, I miss this so much. All those conversations. I don't know. I love talking to adults. I love talking to you, but it's nothing like talking to a 7-year-old. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so fun, and I never knew that before I had children. I never knew how enjoyable it would be to have your own children and to be able to have these profound conversations with them. Sometimes they were just silly, but just all the memories came rushing back as I was talking to them. Like, man, I must be getting to be a grandmother or something. But it was just really awesome, and reminding me that the innocence of children, and that you know, we should treasure that, and enjoy our children and love being with our children and love being home, and not wish we were somewhere else and able to do something different. And maybe my life is not important. I'm just a homemaker or whatever. But like, this is awesome. This is the best life ever. And once our children are grown, all of us old moms are wishing we could go back and do it again because it was just that awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, anyway. Okay.
I just appreciate that, like, all of their firsts were my firsts. Like the first time they learned to read, there's one child in particular, I can remember the exact place. where he was sitting, you know, to read his first book and what I was doing. And so like it's just really great because all of their firsts were my firsts, with them. So yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness, precious memories.
Mhm.
Okay, so I know one of your passions, and I'd like to camp out here for a little bit if we could. One of your passions is mentoring young women. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on is because I feel like it's essential that we old ladies start passing on truth to the moms as well, and not just to our children, our own children, but to influence the community around us. And I was studying Titus 2 again recently, and just looking at all of the things that we as older women are supposed to teach the younger women. And it gets overwhelming to think about, how do we do this in our busy lives? I know you are busy, I'm busy, but yet there are families out there that didn't have. I guess the world is different than it used to be. I see a lot of moms that don't know what a home is supposed to look like. They don't know how, like you just talked about, put a line and have your grandson throw the cotton balls and see how far you could do that. But there are a lot of moms that have never even considered that's a possibility to do. And they don't maybe have a mother or a close friend or someone that they could reach out to in their local community. So,
Mhm.
how do you think is it going to be possible to mentor as many women as there are that need to be mentored? And how do we do that? How can we
Mhm.
pass truth on? And what are some of your thoughts and ideas?
Well, actually, I thought, well, initially when you said, is it reasonable to think that we can reach out this many women? And I thought, no. And I thought, well, maybe because um, we have these options like we have with everything being online. And so we have video and audio and all sorts of opportunities. And one of the ways that I do mentor young ladies is that, first of all, I ask them, how do you learn? What's your favorite way to learn? Do you just enjoy getting face to face together with people? Because if you do, let me tell you about some groups in your area or something like that. Some young moms groups or things like that. It doesn't have to start with homeschooling. It can start with a group of moms who want to hang out together, and have the same values. But also, if you enjoy watching videos, then let me send you a couple of videos that can help you, see where you could be. And the thing about it is, there's so many options when moms come into just motherhood. It doesn't even have to be homeschooling. When they come into motherhood, they don't even know, okay, so am I supposed to sleep train my baby? But am I supposed to nurse? Am I supposed to give them formula? And so, they don't even know that the father has almost like given them some intuition or some opportunity to at least even ask him for wisdom, but just to know that there are some things that if they look at their lives and they say, okay, this is what fits my life better. Um, I have this thing going on that I really can't change in my life. So that way it means that I need to, whatever, I need to um, have my baby on me at all times, or I need to sleep train my baby, or because of this lifestyle thing that I cannot change, I need to have them on formula, or I must nurse them, and there's already been things set up in their life for these patterns that have already happened that they can see and say, okay, these are my strengths and these are the things that the father has put in place that I might see as a weakness, but it just means that I still haven't maybe overcome that area, or I need to, align my um, choices with that. So, so yeah, that's the first thing I see as being really overwhelming for young moms, and then just not trusting that they do already have that, kind of order set in their life, that already that plan, I guess is the way to put it. And then for homeschooling, I just think, we have the opportunity to reach so many because we can, um, you know, even in this video chat option that we're doing today, I could be with a group of women, and I've done it. And it's so great because I facilitate. That's really all I do sometimes in those groups. And the women just talk back and forth with each other and say, has anybody heard anything about this? Has anybody tried this? And it's wonderful. And that is what is needed most is just that level of community where other moms can say, well, I don't know if that worked for you, but this is what worked for me. And that's what we had, when I was younger. So but I think we can reach them. I think we can reach them because we do have these opportunities, even if they can't meet face to face. Maybe they can meet on a regular basis and still have the opportunity for community. And then also in mentoring, I think we have more opportunities to reach them as well. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered everything you were asking or not.
It, it's got my brain going. I'm sitting here and ideas are just going through. I'm thinking, well, my goodness, what could we do at Homeschooling Torah to increase mentorship? Or how could we get women to know that there are just other moms that are in the same exact position they're in, or a different position, and maybe their skills and abilities, they could help each other and they could, hey, I tried this worked, and don't try that didn't work. And I really appreciated what you said too about in different situations. It's that we're not cookie cutters. We each have our own unique situations, and it is not always going to work according to some perfect plan that we think exists. And maybe that's why the scriptures are so silent about some of those things, that the Bible doesn't talk about how to do some of those really specific things. I don't know if you remember from my story, when I was first coming to Torah, it was because another mom that we were meeting in a Yahoo group, which is way
Mhm.
back in the early 2000s, and she was like, the Bible does not have answers for which mechanic we're going to go to. And you keep telling me that the Bible has answers for everything, but it doesn't have answers for everything. And those kinds of questions, I would lay at night and stare up at the ceiling and going, wait a minute, the Bible doesn't have answers. Oh dear, what do I do? And I'm very much a literal person, very black and white, and but that bugged me a lot. And it led to me eventually coming to Torah, and there were a lot more answers there than I ever dreamed there were. I
Mhm.
didn't know it talked about things like our diet, or that we should rest once a week. I was killing myself working way long hours. Even at home, I was just very type A, and let's get the work done and let's constantly come up with new things. And I never took a Sabbath ever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I remember the first time I did, I was bored out of my mind. I'm like, what do I do all day? This is killing me. I didn't really like
Mhm.
it, to be honest. Um, but anyway, these moms that I was talking to online, we were all searching for black and white. Like, this is the only way to be a parent, and this is the only way to have a marriage, and this is the only way to teach phonics, and it didn't matter what it was. And looking back, I'm like, maybe the Bible is silent because he wants us to take our own gifts and abilities. My husband was teaching about the 12 tribes recently, and how each tribe had their own gifts and abilities. Like Issachar, they were farmers, and Zebulun, they were merchants. And so the merchant's not going to do everything like a farmer. They don't have to milk a cow twice a day, because they've got to, but they do have to be at their shop, working their shop. And my husband and I were talking about this, like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I own a business, and so I have to work homeschooling around a business. And I know there are a lot of moms that are having to work and do things, and their life looks a lot different than a homesteader out in Montana. It would just be entirely different. And I know those are stereotypes, but we beat ourselves up because, well, I'm not the perfect homemaker, or I don't make bread as well as this lady does, and so I must not be a very good mom. And I don't see that in scripture. I see that we are like arms and feet and elbows and noses, and we all are part of a body. And so, my friend is really good at baking, and I'm really good at writing. And that's not really, it's okay. I don't have to be her.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we beat ourselves up and compare ourselves constantly, and then lose sleep over it and get stressed, and think that we're just failures and might as well put our kids back in school or something where they have education and they know how to do it correctly. And um
Yeah.
ha- ha- do you am I are you seeing the same things I'm seeing? Like, this is it's rampant. And I think Facebook does not help. And we compare ourselves to everyone else. And, I can't crochet. So I'm like, oh my word, what's wrong with me? I can't crochet. So like those kinds of
If it
things.
helps you to know, I can't either, but my daughters do.
Yes, right. My daughters do too. And I did not teach them. YouTube, wonderful. But yeah,
I see exactly what you're saying. And, you know, that comparison trap got me the minute I really put my eyes more on the world, whether it be a YouTube video or somebody's blog. I mean, these are the old ways, but now everything, not everything, but a big percentage of any type of social media is 2 minute or less video, which is like a reel or what have you, that explains to you how you can get your life in complete order and directed in the right path, exactly like the way you want it to go. But it's really that person influencing you to what they think their life should be or what their life is, just that part of it that they want to show you. So there's just been such a huge increase in, the influential culture, the influencer culture. So, and makes people feel just less than. But like you were saying, when you look at God's word and you align yourself with what it says and in the New Testament, and you probably know better than I do where it is exactly, but it says to compare yourself is not wise. And the reason, I mean, I don't know the reason that the Father had in mind then, but to me, when I compare myself with someone who doesn't do something maybe quite up to par that I do, then I think how much better I am. And then if I think of someone who does something else better than me in my eyes, then I think how much, worse I am. And why can't we just be content? And that isn't that a biblical principle as well, to be content in all things. So the level of contentedness has drastically fallen because we are so influenced by seeing how other people do things and thinking that it's a quick fix for everything. And it's just not. And as long as you're living and learning and finding new ways to grow, the Father's not done with you yet. So, and that's a good thing.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. Probably one of the last questions I wanted to ask you today is as a mom who's been there, done that, what are some of the biggest needs that you see families have? I mean, we've talked about some of them already, but if you could just speak into some of these young moms that are watching today, what are some of the biggest needs that you see people have and maybe just some quick advice? And then I know you just said 2 minutes is not going to fix their problems, but how where would you start? Where would you start if someone was like, I really need help to get my family kind of the way yours was, Susan, or just to kind of get on the right path? What would you tell them?
First of all, I would say read the whole Bible and learn how everything fits together in that and how, like, I see it as like almost like a spinal cord where different pieces stretch off of it, like your nervous system does. Different nerves stretch out here and talk about different topics, but they all come together in one big story. And so once you start to understand that and learn the things through other spiritual disciplines like praying and meditating and thinking about what you've read, and maybe even fasting to draw attention more to those things that you've read and want to apply to your life. Um, asking the Father to help you change and grow in those ways that you are lacking, and then asking Him for opportunity to help others in places where you might not be lacking, where you already have achieved something. I think with life, it's a huge give and take. And so I think if we are only giving or we're only taking, we're going to be out of balance. It's true with I know you probably heard this analogy with the salt sea, the Dead Sea. It has, I think it's like it's water going in, but not going out, which is the reason that it got so salty. And so I know for myself, when things people are giving into my life and I have things coming into me, but I'm not able to give out to others, that is a real drain for me, as well as if I'm the other way around. So, but then beyond that, I would say start with after you've studied God's word and know, like, okay, this is kind of a weakness for me or whatever, find a book, find a person who you know has already kind of achieved something in that area. So, if it's a book and maybe you don't do well with reading on your own, maybe find another friend and say, hey, can we read this together? Can we look through this together? And maybe just because you're doing it with someone else, it might make you feel more motivated to, really study that. But that's what I would say. Find a video, find something. There's so much information, but when we just look at it from the point of view of this is what I feel like the Father is leading with me for me right now to have help with, then once you get help and start to accomplish things in that area, then He's going to, prod your heart for the next thing. And when you're a new mom, just find another mom who can say, okay, it's okay if you don't do it my way, but these are the options, and let's see which one's best for you. And maybe they can help you see how maybe your life has led you to this point where, it's easier for you to use store-bought diapers now than to do cloth diapering. Or maybe cloth diapering really, really works for you because you have a great laundry routine that you've been doing since you were in college. So, it's just finding people, finding books, finding resources that, meet you in your place of need. And you have to find it out and determine what that place of need is. And as a young mom, it's just, how am I going to mom? How am I making it through this day and the next few days and the days that are hard and the days that are easy and the days in between? Yeah. So that's what I think, just finding resources. So, yeah.
It's always good to have a friend who will say things like, did you eat today? Or, when's the last time you and your husband have done something special together? I have a friend that asks me that, and I'm like, well, we have. Oh, wait, it's been a little while, but we have.
Mhm.
And just those honest friends that you can actually share your heart with, and they're actually praying for you. And yeah, you can just shoot them a quick text, and you don't have to have a massively long conversation at that moment if it's crazy, but they care, and they're praying, and
Mm.
that they could help you if you needed anything. And
Yeah.
may we all have those kinds of friends. And, I'm thankful for ministries like Torah Sisters and so many others that are trying so hard to connect Torah women with other women. But it doesn't even have to be a Torah woman. Like my
Mhm.
daughter's piano teacher is just a really fine Christian woman who I know there are areas that I can talk to her about homeschooling or various things, and I know she's going to have wise advice. Or my family, my extended family, they're not all in Torah, but they have years of wisdom and guidance that they can give. And I think if we're humble and we go to them, and maybe we do know more about something in the Torah, but they might know something more about how to make supper or manage our finances or whatever. And if we're humble and we'll just go to other people and say, I need help in this area, and we find someone that's got skills. And I guess that's the idea I'm trying to say is we just have to humble ourselves that we might not know everything in every area,
Mhm.
or maybe it's okay to admit that we do need help, because we all need help many
Yeah.
times, all the time.
Yeah. The thing I find with young women today is that they have been raised in the digital age so much that to reach out to a person isn't really a matter necessarily of humility. It's a matter of um, just being afraid that, well, maybe it is a matter of humility, because it's like it's a matter of, am I going to sound dumb, or how do I say this, or how do I word this? I mean, even recently, I was mentoring a group of ladies, and I offered, one-on-one time outside of our group meetings. And one lady, the very last week, God bless her, that she reached out to me, and she told me later on, that was really hard for me. That was really hard for me to reach out. And I do think that our society, yeah, I think it is humility. I think it does come back down to it. You're right, Anne, because I think our society trains and tells our young people that, um, you know, life should be easy and there shouldn't be any challenges. And if there are, then, you know, there's a quick fix, like I said, and you've just got to find it. You just got to find what that quick fix is. And it's not always that. So, yeah, but it's just so hard for them to open up, to send that email, to send that text, to make
Paul.
that phone call or whatever. Just make that first step. And I know for myself that I've found that true in the past as well. But now with age comes wisdom in some areas. And that's one of the areas that I realize, okay, it's okay to sometimes ask, you know, what are your thoughts on this? And how do you do this? I'm not sure if this is working for me. What do you do that works for you? So yeah. Um, but I think that's a big thing, and I hope that I pray that they will have the just the spirit to want to reach out, and just that the Father will give them whatever they need to equip them to just reach out and connect to start with, even so.
I read in a book a long time ago, like a long time ago, I read this in a book. Um, but the author said, if you're going to visit a new church, and I think this would apply to anyone going to try to meet a new Torah friend or meet someone new in an age when all we do is text, it's really hard to go meet someone in person, face to face, like you were saying. But this author's wise advice was go a little early, stay a little late, and then see if you can have a meal together soon after. And so, like, if it was a new church, to go early, that means that the people that are there setting up are going to notice you're going to have time to say hi, and you will have at least one friend, somebody that you recognize and you don't feel completely awkward with. Although that minute of walking in for the first time is like walking the gauntlet, this is so hard. But once you get there and they're like, hi, then it's you've broken the ice. And then to stay a little late, help clean up, help, put the books away, put the chairs away, clean up the tables and wipe them off. And in doing that, you're going to meet the people that also have servant hearts, and they're probably the exact ones that can mentor and help you. And then, hey, can we meet for coffee sometime? I mean, it's another thing of, oh my goodness, I'm busy, or I'd have to leave the house, or I'd have to, what if my kids are naughty, or what if they don't act really great? And what, I don't know, but something about having some food and drink and coffee or something with a new person, the
Mhm.
boundaries just they fall down, and you start to share your heart with someone, and then you find out, love my word, we've been talking for 5 hours. We better go home.
Mhm.
So, but I think that's been amazing advice. That was a long time ago I read that, and I've thought about it a lot, that I'm because people will say, Anne, you're such an extrovert, and I am not. I am
Mhm.
not an extrovert. I love my books and my fireplace, and I really don't like going out with people. I don't love answering customer emails. I'm just not an extrovert. But if
Mhm.
we do reach out into other people's lives, we find friends. We find people that are kindred spirits that are like, wow, we have a lot in common. That was
Mhm.
really good. I'm glad we did that. And why
Mhm.
was I so scared? So
Mhm. Yeah, that's
thank you.
interesting because I didn't know that little tidbit, but that's always been something that I've done. I haven't necessarily gone early, but I'm always the person who stays late because, um, yeah, I don't mind picking up the trash and doing the sweeping and stuff like that. And like you said, it's those core group of people typically that are there for those things that you really do want to get to meet, because those are the people who their values might align a little bit better with your own. So yes, that's how I've met some people for sure, and just been really involved in different opportunities. So
And if you're one of the older moms watching, when someone comes in, go over and introduce yourself and say, hey, this is
mhm,
how it's done here. That's where the bathroom is. And don't worry if your baby cries. It's perfectly fine. No one cares.
mhm,
Just to be there for them, and to notice that someone has needs and they're feeling afraid. Like, that's something we older moms can do. We remember what it feels like to be that young mom and have your baby crying and thinking it's like incredibly loud, when I promise you, in your 50s, it just sounds like sweet music. So it is not a problem. But you
You,
don't know that
I
when you're,
just think, how can I go? Can I go hold that baby?
yes, right? How
How
can
can I
I
help
would
that mom?
love
I don't
to.
think what a terrible mom or whatever. I never ever think that at all. Even if
I know.
it's a older child who's disobedient, I think, oh wow, I remember that one day. I wish nobody had seen
Right. We
how my
all
child
had that
someone.
many times,
Yeah. So,
many times. Yes. And yeah, have compassion on each other and do that. So, all
yeah.
right, Susan, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up, or anything that was on your heart and you wished you could have said today?
No, I think you had great ideas, and yeah, I think it's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you including me. So, other than that, no, I don't. I don't have anything else that I really thought was pricking my heart today.
You so much for sharing your wisdom. The first time we started having long conversations, I thought, wow, I am so thankful to have gotten to meet you. I met your daughter Caitlin first, and now I know why Caitlin is what she is. I'm just saying you have done a fantastic job raising all of your children, and we've had just little privileges to get to know them, and I can see the fruit, and I'm just honored to know you, and I'm hoping that many other women get to know you better. I know you're not like out there on the public stage, but you have so much to contribute, and I'm praying that the next generation will try to emulate you and to walk like you've walked, and that maybe all of us can have some kind of ministry to help that happen in the next generation of moms. So thank you, Susan.
Oh, it's my honor, my privilege. Thank you.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was just super fun. That whole conversation, as I was watching it again with you guys today, I just kept smiling the whole time, like, oh my goodness, this was good. I wanted to point out something that I noticed today that I didn't really notice the last time when she was talking, when I watched it for the first time for real. And that is, in this truth conference, we've been talking about being bold and courageous and passing truth on to the next generation, but not everything is written in the Word of God. There are many things in which we have freedom. And I wanted to take you all to a verse in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 20, oh goodness, put my glasses back on. Verse 26, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. And I think over the earth, that would include your mechanic, choosing a good mechanic. And yes, there is wisdom all throughout the Word of God, and wisdom in counselors and in mentors and in godly people that the Father brings into our lives. But then he says, you know what? If you buy a Ford or a Chevy, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to give you wisdom to have dominion over this earth. And I want some of you moms to say, you know what? I have freedom. There are things that I must stand true on. The Word of God is unswerving in some areas, and I must hold to those. But in other areas, it doesn't say anything, which means that I have freedom and I can do what the Father leads me to do. And it doesn't have to look like somebody else. And I hope that encourages all of you today. I hope listening to Susan encouraged you. She is beginning to reach out with her. Well, she's not beginning, she's been mentoring for many, many years. But if you are interested in her services as a mentor, reach out to us at Homeschooling Torah. You can reach out to me at any time, Anne, ANNE, at homeschoolingtorah.com, and we will put you in connection with Susan if you would like to have her mentor you in your homeschooling walk. So otherwise, definitely reach out to her daughter, Growing in Yeshua. That's one word. If you go to Etsy, etsy.com, at the search bar, search for Growing in Yeshua. That's one word. And you'll love her designs. They're awesome. And also don't forget about Deborine Publishing. Some of you, the Father is calling to take the message of truth to this world, and you might need a publisher. And this is a good option for you. So, and otherwise, join my husband and me tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be our last conference session. We're going to talk about passing truth to the next generation. I hope we can hold it to an hour. I've seen my husband's notes. He has a lot to say tonight, and I have a lot of questions to ask him. Plus, tonight, as our last a gift that we're giving away. We are giving away a free annual membership to Homeschooling Torah, and you have to be live in order to be eligible to win that gift. So in honor of the conference this week, we do have a sale going on at Homeschooling Torah where all of our memberships are on sale, and that is only good until midnight Eastern time tonight. So again, I'm on Eastern time. I do go to bed. So if you want to take advantage of that sale, that is only good until this evening. Now we're going to close the conference just like we have been through all of the sessions. I have a song from one of our sponsors, Wayne Kaufman at waynekaufman.com. And I just hope that this song blesses you.
What's in will praise you and praise you, for you